To put it plainly, we just couldn't stop writing songs. To try and put it more poetically, it feels like we were standing on the edge of the Folklorian woods and had a choice to turn and go back or to travel further into the forest of this music. We chose to wander deeper in. I've never done this before. In the past, I've always treated albums as one-off eras and moved on to planning the next one after an album was released. There was something different with Folklore. In making it, I felt less like I was departing and more like I was returning. I love the escapism I found in these imaginary, not imaginary tales. I love the ways you welcome the dreamscapes and tragedies and epic tales of love lost and found into your lives. So I just kept writing them.
I'm like the water when your ship rolled in that night. Rough on the surface, but you cut through like a knife. And if it was an open shut case, I never would have known from the look on your face. Lost in your current like a priceless wine. The more that you say, the less I know. Wherever you stray, I follow. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. Life was a willow and it bent right to your wind. Head on the pillow, I could feel you sneaking in. As if you were a mythical thing, like you were a trophy or a champion ring. And there was one prize I'd cheat to win. The more that you say, the less I know. Wherever you stray, I follow. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. You know that my train could take you home. Anywhere else is hollow. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. Life was a willow and it bent right to your wind. They count me out time and time again. Life was a willow and it bent right to your wind. But I come back stronger than a 90s trend. Wait for the signal and I'll meet you after dark. Show me the places where the others gave you scars. Now this is an open shut case. I guess I should have known from the look on your face. Every bit and switch was a work of art. The more that you say, the less I know. Wherever you stray, I follow. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. You know that my train could take you home. Anywhere else is hollow. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. The more that you say, the less I know. Wherever you stray, I follow. Begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. You know that my train can take you home. Anywhere else is hollow. Begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man. Hey, that's my man. Yeah, that's my man. Yeah, that's my man. Every bait and switch was a work of art. That's my man. Hey, that's my man. I'm begging for you to take my hand, wreck my plans, that's my man.
Okay, so there it is, the album opener, Willow, and it's not exactly what I was expecting. It's not bad by any means, but it's just a little bit different than what I was thinking. It sounds fairly simple, but at its core, at the heart of the song, there's actually a lot going on. In this one, Taylor's vocal performance is a little bit deeper and also kind of nuanced. And her vocal phrasing has this natural fluidity, and I feel like that kind of highlights some of the gentle and soothing qualities of this song. However, that doesn't mean things are flat or straight line, because there are some very subtle dynamics to all of this. Now, these sort of vocal dynamics are mostly seen in the chorus. There's slight vocal layerings and subtle harmonies, which together creates this almost hypnotic effect. And the instrumentation and the arrangements are designed in this way to kind of solidify itself with folk roots, but having a slightly more contemporary sound. It's kind of difficult to describe because the pacing on everything felt almost disorientating, but it was done in the most comfortable way. So the sonic backbone of this song is that intricate finger picking, which adds both rhythm and melody. And I like that the guitar tone is warm and natural. I feel like it enhances the overall kind of earthy vibe of this song. So yes, the finger picking is the backbone of this song, but that does not mean that there's not a lot going on outside of that. In fact, there's many other instruments used that are used to highlight and elevate that guitar. It's those carefully placed slight cinematics that do it for me. It's the light string section that weaves in and out of the arrangement and swells at certain parts that adds a certain almost elegance to all of this. The execution on the cinematic subtleties, I'll give a 10 out of 10. It is fantastic. They actually build, they actually go someplace. It swells gently during key moments, and it all enhances like the general emotional peaks of the lines delivered. So as I mentioned, the guitar is playing two parts here. It's both melody and it's both rhythm, but there are some percussive elements as well. And this is where things can start to get a little bit messy. Normally when you have a guitar and it's leading that way as the rhythm and the melody, percussive elements can be a bit distracting, or it can be a bit much, or it can kind of muddy up the sound. I don't think that's the case in this song. Much like most of the dynamics in this song, it really comes down to subtlety. But there are what I like to call raindrop rhythmic elements in this song, and it comes down to those delicate soft taps and the use of the brush stick. And it all maintains a delicate and flowing rhythm. So those raindrop rhythms or percussive elements are there more to create ambience and less to actually drive the song forward forcefully. Like I said, it's all about subtleties. There's also these really nice, soft, gentle electronic textures that are helping build the finger picking and some of those cinematics. The symmetry of the organic tones coming from the guitar and the cinematics mixed together with the electronic elements, I feel like is a really nice mix. Okay, let's reference the document and see what Meat has to say about this song.
So this album is clearly something totally different than what we've been getting. Every Taylor album since 1989 has been a really significant shift in style, and most albums have had 2 to 3 years between them. But here, in the middle of peak COVID, we've got a second album released in the same year, and clearly it's part of the same songbook. We're in the same kind of dreamy, forestry midscape here as we were with Folklore, and I'm more than fine with that. Give me more Folklore, yes, please, thank you.
I agree.
And this track has poppier songwriting at its core than just about anything on Folklore did. It's kind of the song I was waiting for from Folklore and never got. It's everything I liked about the production on the best tracks from that album combined with a really catchy beat. What's not to like? Favorite lyric, show me the places where the others gave you scars.
All right, so I agree with most of what Meat had to say here. I wouldn't say this is a pop tune. It's still very rooted in folk and contemporary sounds, but it does have more rhythmic element to most of what Folklore was. And I guess it would be difficult for me to pick a favorite line on this track, but I really enjoy the way this opened up, you know, not only as an album opener, but just the first 2 lines in this song. I'm like the water when your ship rolled in that night, rough on the surface, but you cut through like a knife. It's just so telling in the first 2 phrasings of this song. On the outside, I'm hard. You can't get in. You know, I look like this, you know, impenetrable thing, but for whatever reason, this person has the ability to cut through and get to the core of her. But honestly, there are so many good lines in this song. At times, this song felt incredibly romantic. It felt like a love song, but there's also this different side to it. There's also like this different corner of like submission to it all. And the lyrics are also very present and self-aware. She knows that this person might not be the best for her, you know, but she's begging for it, you know, break her plans, and like she can feel herself, you know, being like almost like possessed by this person, sneaking into her pillow and everything. And like she knows it might not be the best thing or maybe the healthiest thing, but she's still willing to cheat to get this person. She's willing to do whatever it takes to be by this person's side. To me, it feels like this careful balance between submission and love.
night train for a reason, so you could sit there in this hurt. Bustling crowds are silent sleepers. You're not sure which is worse. Because I dropped your hand while dancing, left you out there standing, crestfallen on the land in champagne problems. Your mom's ring in your pocket, my picture in your wallet. Your heart was glass, I dropped it, champagne problems.
This is gonna be an album of subtleties, I know it.
You told your family for a reason, you couldn't keep it in. Your sister splashed out on the bottle, now no one's celebrating. Dom Perignon, you brought it, no crowd of friends applauded. Your hometown skeptics called it champagne problems. You had a speech, you're speechless. Love slipped beyond your reaches, and I couldn't give a reason. Champagne problems. Midas touch on the Chevy door, November flush and your flannel cure. This dorm was once a madhouse. I made a joke, well it's made for me. How evergreen our group of friends, don't think we'll say that word again. And soon they'll have the nerve to deck the halls that we once walked through. One for the money, two for the show. I never was ready, so I watch you go. Sometimes you just don't know the answer till someone's on their knees and asks you. She would have made such a lovely bride. What a shame she's fucked in the head, they said, but you'll find the real thing instead. She'll patch up your tapestry that I shred and hold your hand while dancing, never leave you standing, crestfallen on the landing with champagne problems. Your mom's ring in your pocket, her picture in your wallet, and you won't remember all my champagne problems.
The morph down is nice.
You won't remember all my champagne problems.
We're having fun. So going into this song, seeing the track name Champagne Problems, I was kind of thinking this was going to be a little sarcastic, a little snarky, and it definitely kind of can be in some aspects, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it's not what I thought. It's not like a, oh, first world problems kind of thing. It's actually talking about some very specific scenarios, which again, I'll get to in a minute. But it's not what I thought it was going to be. But I got to say right off the rip, this is incredibly poetic. In fact, even in these first two songs, this might be some of her more poetic material that I've covered. The wording, the phrasing, everything is just fantastic. But let's just break it down sonically, lyrically, and how I do things. Okay, so Taylor's overall delivery, her overall tone is definitely different on this. I felt like her vocals were definitely a little bit more restrained. They were still deeply emotional, but they were kind of reflecting the bittersweet nature of the lyrical content. But it's obvious so far that Taylor's singing in a little bit more of a controlled and much lower register than I've heard on her previous works, which definitely is heightening the melancholic atmosphere. Especially on this track, her voice is filled with subtle inflections that convey this sense of regret and just like overall sadness. And those inflections add to the natural rise and fall of her delivery, particularly during the chorus. where she slightly lifts this intensity, but she doesn't lose any of the intimacy. And this helps those dramatics. It helps build that tension, but it's still able to maintain that poetic and conversational tone. And just like with Willow, there are these soft and layered harmonies that enrich certain key moments in the song. It's all been very haunting. And the instrumentation by design is sparse to let the narrative take center stage and that be your main focus. I suppose the backbone would be that repeating piano motif. I mean, no doubt it's simple, but it's incredibly effective. And actually having it be this continuous loop captures some of the cynical nature of this song. The subtle guitar has some of the same tendencies that we heard from Willow with some of that finger picking and also having that natural warm sound. It's introduced later in the song, and I really enjoy the mix on this because guitar in no point, in no way ever overpowers that looping piano. The guitar is there as a highlight mechanism. It's there to add a touch of melody, but also a touch of tension and possibly an essence of continuation from the first song onto this one. We'll definitely know as the album continues whether that same tone guitar is filtered or featured through the entirety of this album, and if it is, that's going to add to the overall cohesive aspect of this album. Now, underneath all of that, there's this really nice, delicate string arrangement that's just kind of hidden in the background. And I gotta say, the execution on the cinematics, again, is flawless. They swell when they need to. They build when they need to rise key moments lyrically in the song without ever overshadowing the vocals. Is the perfect mix. But there's a lot of layers in this track. There's a lot of electronic components on this. And in fact, the execution on those felt a little bit more indie than they did on Willow. And again, there's also some great symmetry between the organic and the electronic components on this song. Those lighter synth pads working with the cinematics, it just adds like this soft texture, this natural roundness to the sound. And all of this atmosphere adds to the sonic world building. And look, it's easy to create an atmospheric song. Throw a bunch of reverb out there, a ton of delay. It's easy to do. What's difficult to do is to have a song that has this beautiful world-building atmosphere, but also maintains a certain sense of introspection and intimacy, which I feel like they flawlessly achieved here. Let's see what Mead has to say about this one.
The lyrics here are carrying on themes and symbols from the previous song, but they're also referencing back to songs on Folklore, and even from some older Taylor stuff. This is a quilt and she's patching and weaving a bunch of stories into something new. I love this new spirit of focusing on telling beautiful stories, regardless of whether they describe one specific event in her life, or in anyone's life for that matter. It feels more dreamy and the emotions really shine through. It's why all good biopics sprinkle in some fiction. And man, Taylor's vocal delivery continues to improve. Yeah. The way she sings, celebrating at the end of the second verse.
Yeah.
There's like 4 emotions packed into one word.
It's a layering. It's a layering that builds up to that point. It's the build. I know what she's saying, though.
I've never heard Taylor talked about as a great singer, and she's not Adele out there breaking the ceiling with her voice or anything.
All right, so artists like Adele, Ariana Grande, Mariah Carey come up a lot in my reaction videos where people compare certain artists to these 3 people that are able to hit some incredible notes and do some fantastic things with their voice and, you know, have like a stable voice and have perfect pitch and all of that. And all of those things technically, yes, make you a fantastic singer and technically proficient at your job. And look, those things are great and they're exciting to experience because not everybody can do those very specific things. However, songwriting and vocalists as a whole, I feel like is a lot more than being able to do this one cool thing. I talk about vocal inflections on just about every song that I break down or react to. At least to me, that is kind of the bread and butter of what makes a fantastic vocalist. How are you able to convey your message? Are you able to do it technically proficient like somebody like Mariah Carey? Or are you able to actually capture the thoughts, the feelings, the emotion, like the actual baggage of that song? Sometimes you got to break that pitch and sometimes you have to go slightly off key. And those are the things that humanize music. And to me, those are the things that are more meaningful. I can't tell you how many times I've been recording an artist or producing an act, and in the studio, they want to do this thing called quantizing, which essentially makes everything perfect or do some sort of pitch correction or whatever. And they'll do that the entire way through a song. And if you listen to it for the first time, you're like, oh, hey, everything's perfect. It sounds great. But you know what? That's not us. That's not humans. That's not art. art is sloppy, it's gross, it's weird, it's dark, it's disturbing, it's beautiful. It's all of these things mixed together, and it's supposed to make you feel something. If it's all a machine, if it's all coming and it's all perfect and everything is just 100% on time and pitch perfect, you lose the soul of music. And I feel like, unfortunately, we are moving in that direction. But at the same time, I feel like we need to keep some humanization to all of it. So I don't think it's fair to compare any artist to the likes of Adele or Mariah or Ariana. Everybody's different in their own way. And what an artist like Taylor excels at is, well, one, storytelling, and two, her inflections in vocal delivery.
I've never heard Taylor talked about as a great singer, and she's not Adele out there breaking the ceiling with her voice or anything. But man, she's gotten so fucking good at conveying feel and atmosphere with her delivery. She changes her voice in substantial ways a dozen times in some of these songs.
She's talking about those inflections, those drops, those pitch shifts.
Something those big belting singers rarely do. For the record...
But there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with those big belting singers that do those things. And they've got beautiful, stage presence, and they can, really capture the emotions as well. And they're fantastic artists on their own. I don't want this to make it seem like I'm shitting on, especially those three, because they're some of the best in the industry. I'm just telling you what Taylor excels at.
For the record, which I find actually contributes to the impact of music more than a really impressive high note could.
Okay.
Favorite lyric, she would have made such a lovely bride. What a shame she's fucked in the head, they said.
I don't know if I have a favorite lyric on this one. I think I have a favorite section, and it's your sister is splashed out on the bottle. Now nobody is celebrating. Again, it just tells so much in such a poetic way. Obviously, she's drunk. She's getting crazy. Nobody's celebrating. Everybody's being concerned. Splashed out in the bottle is just a fantastic way of saying you've had too much to drink. Next time I drink too much, I'm just going to be like, I'm splashed out in the bottle, guys. Dom Perignon, you brought it. No crowd of friends applauded. Okay, so somebody's showing up. They're trying to show off a little bit. Nobody gives a shit, or nobody knows what it is. And it's just this feeling. I just feel like I'm at this gathering. I'm at a reunion or a holiday party or something, and you're just seeing crazy shit go down, and people aren't paying attention. There are too many good lines in this song for me to pick one. I'll have to get back to you on that one. All right, so as Meat said, this is kind of a mixed bag. It's a continuation from the first track, Willow. It also has essences of folklore sprinkled throughout it, and also possibly some of Taylor's real life experiences as well. So there's kind of a lot going on, and I'm sure I'll have to listen to this one a few more times and maybe even have somebody break down the lyrical connection for me. But what I'm getting off of first listen, at least, is at its core, it seems to be about a song talking about love lost, about a relationship that just never came to fruition, about expectations that were never met. And the lyrics are intertwined with all of these questions. It's all these what ifs of life. And if things did work out perfectly for the protagonist and the love interest, how would they have all panned out? Now, yeah, I get it. I understand. The whole thing is supposed to be very melancholic, and it's all very kind of dreary, and the tone is kind of sad, but I just can't help but be impressed by the world building and the poetic nature and the general execution.
it flush. I don't like that anyone without a feel your touch. Everybody wants you, everybody wonders what it would be like to love you. Walk past, quick brush. I don't like slow motion, double vision in rose blush. I don't like that falling feels like flying till the bone crush. Everybody wants you, but I don't like a gold rush. What must it be like to grow up that beautiful, with your hair falling into place like dominoes? My mind turns your life into folklore. I can't dare to dream about you anymore. At dinner parties won't call you out on your contrarian shit. In the coastal town we never found, we'll never see. Love as pure as it, cause it fades into the gray. My deity, cause it will never be. Gleaming, twinkling, eyes like sinking ships on waters so inviting, I almost jump in.
There's so much to talk about. This album reaction is going to take me forever. There's so many references and all right, let's just start. So vocally on Gold Rush, there's a lot of fluctuation. It's a balance between these like really nice, dreamy, atmospheric, almost etherical vocals, and then this more intimate conversational tone. That's soft, almost whisper tone definitely adds to the more dreamier effect of the song. And it goes back and forth to this much more breathy tone that's feeling a lot more intimate. And of course, we're going to have some layering and interesting harmonies. And this song being so busy, it can be kind of difficult to add senses of depth and expression, especially with a lot going on. But I feel like she nailed it. In the previous couple tracks, as the vocals were layered, you know, it was there to kind of swell things. It was there to emphasize key points. Now, since there's so much happening in this one, when we have layering, it actually has more of an echo effect. And it not only sounds cool, but it's very deliberate, because not only does it sound cool, but it's also there to emphasize these echoing or these like racing thoughts in her head. The transitions are so smooth. She moves from like this really nice airy verse to this more grounded sense, this more dominance in the chorus. It's meticulous and it's deliberate, and I think it's because she's going from the train of thought from fantasy to actual reality. Now, sonically, Gold Rush is definitely a very expressive sound. The opening was definitely surprising. These sweeping strings coming in right off the bat, creating like this sense of romance and grandeur. And even though the song is obviously very organically, cinematically driven, there are still these shimmery pads and synths underneath everything. The pitch bends, the frequencies shift, it all just adds so much texture. The piano is interesting because it has some of the same looping motifs that we've heard previously, but this is definitely giving off more of like a fever dream type of feel to it. It's interesting because the piano is essentially just running a scale and it's just looped that way, but the general tone is kind of warm and inviting, as disorientating as it sounds. And the bass is so rounded out. There's almost no attack on it whatsoever. It just kind of adds to some of the groove elements and works right there beautifully in the pocket with the percussive elements. And this is the first song where the percussive elements are a little bit more predominant in the mix. There's this certain groove and bounce to the entire jam. And yeah, man, the beat mapping is fairly intricate. You know, it creates a foundation for the song, but it doesn't overpower anything. It just kind of keeps things moving along and gives us a little groove underneath the underbelly of the sonic landscape. Okay, let's see what Meat's got to say about this one.
These last two tracks are both unusually cryptic and symbolic for Taylor, and with a very staggered narrative. Little snippets and glimpses at moments in time, brief shots of individual memories. Part of me thinks these two songs are deeply connected and essentially showing two facets of the same relationship, and part of me thinks they are completely unrelated, and I could sit here and puzzle over it for a long time. And that very fact that I'm compelled to puzzle over it, that she's not just laying out the details in a precise sequence, is something we almost never saw pre-Folklore, and that has been cranked up to 11 here. This is a shuffled photo book of a record so far. Favorite lyric: my mind turns your life into folklore. I can't dare to dream about you anymore.
Yeah, again, everything is very poetic and scattered. It's going to be difficult for me to pick one favorite line on this one. But what I am noticing is there's kind of a different theme on this. I thought the whole idea between Folklore and Evermore was we were traveling into the forest, but there's so much emphasis and there's so many metaphors about ships in water. It has a more nautical theme to it than I thought it was going to, but I mean, her talking about being in the ocean and being rough on the edges and these ships coming and sinking and everything. I think there's more to this than I initially realized. I mean, it feels like there's so many references and there's probably a very clear definition to all of this, but just as Meat said, it's kind of like this scrapbook and there's all these different ideas put together, but there is still this main narrative that is happening. At least I think that there is. I'm sitting here and I'm like racking my brain. I am like trying to piece together things from every album that I've reacted to and remember all these different stories and how they intertwine and everything. And at some points I feel like I'm grasping at straws and some things are making sense, but I feel like I'm kind of a detective at this point. There's so much happening, but I do feel like that there is at least a solid foundation to this. And the whole idea of it is kind of bittersweet. It is this fantasy about being with somebody that is so intoxicating and just imagining your life with them, but being self-aware enough to know that there's some real complications with that person and it probably wouldn't work. Both sonically and lyrically, this song is just a fever dream, man.
To know who you were hanging with while I was gone, I would have asked you. It's the kind of cold fogs up windshield glass, but I felt it when I passed you. There's an ache in you, put there by the ache in me. But if it's all the same to you, it's the same to me. So we could call it even. You could call me babe for the weekend. 'Tis the damn season right this time. I'm staying at my parents' house, and the road not taking looks real good now. And it always leads to you in my hometown. I parked my car right between the Methodist and the school that used to be ours. The holidays linger like bad perfume. You can run but only so far. I escaped it too. Remember how you watched me leave. But if it's okay with you, it's okay with me. We could call it even. You could call me babe for the weekend.
Interesting.
'Tis the damn season right this time. I'm staying at my parents' house, and the road not taking looks real good now. Time flies, messy as the mud on your truck tires. Now I'm missing your smile, hear me out. We could just ride around, and the road not taking looks real good now. And it always leads to you in my hometown. Sleeping half the day just for old time's sake. I won't ask you to wait if you don't ask me to stay. So I'll go back to LA and the so-called friends who write books about me if I ever make it, and wonder about the only soul who can tell which smiles I'm faking. And the heart I know I'm breaking is my own. To leave the warmest bed I've ever known. We could call it even. Even though I'm leaving, and I'll be yours for the weekend. 'Tis the damn season. We could call it even. You could call me babe for the weekend. 'Tis the damn season right this time. I'm staying at my parents' house, and the road not taking looks real good now. Time flies, messy as the mud on your truck tires. Now I'm missing your smile, hear me out. We could just ride around, and the road not taking looks real good now. And it always leads to you in my hometown. It always leads to you in my hometown.
Okay, so apparently we're officially in our fuck Christmas era.
My heart is a Christmas tree farm where the people would come to dance under sparkling lights.
I don't know if you guys have like Taylor Swift playlists, but I get like just a whole bunch of albums all together and it just plays on shuffle sometimes. And I get like emotional whiplash sometimes. So lyrically, this one is definitely a bit easier to follow, but let's talk vocally first. Taylor's vocal performance was wistful and overall mostly restrained, which definitely captures the mood of this story. And tonally, you have to agree, we're in a different register here. She's singing much lower. And I dig how much most of the tone is very conversational in this. It feels like some sort of confession. It has this really nice warm intimacy. And the layering and the harmonies are a little less prevalent in this one. I mean, they're all very subtle from everything we've heard so far, but this is a little bit cleaner, a little bit drier. That's showcasing even more deliberation. It's supposed to emphasize the resignation to all of this. The protagonist knows this situation is temporary and it's probably going to lead to some regret, and her projection perfectly highlights all of that. And once again, the backbone of the song is finger-picked guitar, but this time around, we actually have some drive to it. It's an electric guitar. The guitar is absolutely soaked in reverb. It's adding some great atmosphere, and it feels like there's some actual space to it, but it feels almost ghostly and dissident. The percussive elements are also a bit more restrained. There's interesting effects happening here and some interesting rolling happening, but for the most part, it sounds like the drums were recorded in a completely separate room, and it's kind of all over the place, if I want to be honest. I mean, certain rolls and certain taps and certain builds to it all feels like, all right, the snare was recorded down the street, and then the bass was hit in the small closet, and it's very all over the place, but it still does work because the flow of this song, again, isn't in the same foundation of verse, chorus. It has a build to it. It's really just like one long story, and there happens to be a cinematic score underneath it. And I feel like the percussive elements add less rhythm and actually just add more to the cinematic build of everything. And I mean, all right, let's be honest. Sonically, the whole track is fairly haunting, but the underbelly of the cinematics really highlight a lot of it. So far, there's been some sort of cinematic swell on every track we've heard so far, but it kind of happens gradually and slowly builds up and then very quickly kind of snaps off to emphasize key points in the song. Whereas something like this, it's this drawn out, kind of slow moving, massive build that really adds some tension. And then that working with all the reverb on the guitar and the underlaying of like the cinematic pads and the electronic pads, it creates this haunting atmosphere. And the bass is interesting. Well, the bass is interesting on all these songs so far because it's fairly sparse, but you know, it does emphasize and highlight key moments. On this one, it actually adds warmth. You know, in other songs, the guitar would add warmth, the strings would add warmth, there would be something else. But this is the first track where the bass is what's really adding warmth to the track. And what's interesting is the bass isn't playing off of any kind of scale here. It's more felt than it is heard. The bass's position and placement in the mix is more elevated than it has been from anything we've heard so far. It's right at that threshold where it doesn't overpower anything. It doesn't overpower the lyrics. It still lets the narrator be center stage, but just adds a lot more atmosphere and warmth and kind of ties the whole thing together, honestly. But let's see what our buddy Meat has to say about this one.
Wow, the references are really on a roll here. This really is a photo book album. This could easily be interpreted as a reference back to that boy all the way back in Tim McGraw, the hometown kid with the pickup truck.
Jesus Christ, I thought I was overthinking things. Apparently, I wasn't going deep enough. I'm putting my detective hat back on. All right, Meat, lay me in. Let me know what's going on here.
And of course, the only smiles I'm faking takes us back to Fearless on the Way I Loved You.
Oh my God, they're right. It's right here.
Can't see the smile I'm faking, and my heart's not breaking, 'cause I'm not feeling anything at all.
It's a wonderful, beautiful album. Oh my God. I'm still pissed off that Fearless was blocked on YouTube. I don't know if this video will ever make it to YouTube, but I'm sorry, YouTube. I'm an idiot.
It's such a simple composition, instrumentally, but it's deceptively super unique. Taylor brings so much character out of it in those choruses.
Limit reached. You've reached the 5-minute daily limit of plus voices. $19 a month. No, I'll just read. All right, well, I will be doing the dramatic reading for Meat then. God damn it, making me read. Okay, I particularly loved the double chorus. Right when you think the momentum's going to fall back down for the verse, Taylor hits you with the time flies and just keeps going. I can't recall her doing anything quite like that before, and I think it works super well. Yeah, that's the thing, man. The foundation sonically and the general structure of this one is a little bit odd. And favorite lyric is, I won't ask you to wait if you don't ask me to stay. I gotta agree with Meat on that one. That was definitely one that stuck out to me. But I can't believe I missed out on the Fearless reference. I was questioning myself. I'm like, you're overthinking things, Jim. Just enjoy the music, talk about the production, and tell people what you think the lyrics mean and what the song means to you. And I wasn't going deep enough. That was my fault. And I officially have my detective hat on. So yeah, some of the references went right over my head, so I guess I have to pay closer attention. But I think I understand and understand the basic foundation of this song, and a lot of it revolves around nostalgia and comfortability and going back home and doing what's easy but not necessarily right. I mean, as I was listening to this song and thinking about the lyrics, I thought it was pretty black and white about her returning home and this like warm feeling of, you know, seeing the people you love again and having like this like sense of longing. And it's kind of like it's a mixed bag because in one sense she's happy to be there and it's comfortable and it's warm, but she also knows that there's this comfortable thing here, but she doesn't want to do anything she regrets. And apparently it's littered with a bunch of references that I am too dumb to understand. So anybody that's watching this later, if you have any more information for me, as always, seriously, please let me know in the comments section, whether it's on Patreon or YouTube or wherever. I'll check it out. A lot of times I miss certain things, and luckily people are cool. They're like, hey, it actually goes a little bit deeper, and they help me understand. So feel free to do that at any point in this reaction because apparently I'm missing stuff.
And when I'm feeling alone, you remind me of home. Oh, baby, baby, Merry Christmas.
It's kind of playful.
I sit and watch you reading with your head low. I wake and watch you breathing with your eyes closed. I sit and watch you. I notice everything you do or don't do. You're so much older and wiser, and I wait by the door like I'm just a kid. Use my best colors for your portrait. Lay the table with the fancy shit and watch you tolerate it. If it's all in my head, tell me now. Tell me I've got it wrong somehow. I know my love should be celebrated, but you tolerate it. I greet you with a battle heroes welcome. I take your indiscretions all in good fun. I sit and listen. I polish plates until they gleam and glisten. You're so much older and wiser, and I wait by the door like I'm just a kid. Use my best colors for your portrait. Lay the table with the fancy shit and watch you tolerate it. If it's all in my head, tell me now. Tell me I've got it wrong somehow. I know my love should be celebrated, but you tolerate it. While you were out building other worlds, where was I? Where's that man who threw blankets over my barbed wire? I made you my temple, my mirror, my sky. Now I'm begging for footnotes in the story of your life, drawing hearts in the byline. Always taking up too much space or time. You assume I'm fine, but what would you do if I took this dagger in me and removed it. Gain the weight of you, then lose it. Believe me, I could do it. If it's all in my head, tell me now. Tell me I've got it wrong somehow. I know my love should be celebrated, but you tolerate it. I sit and watch you.
So this one for me is incredibly relatable, and not because I'm the person who's, you know, was victimized or in tolerating somebody else. No, because I was the asshole, and I didn't even know that I was. This exact situation that she's talking about, at least on first listen, sounds exactly like an issue my wife had that I was doing, and I had. And that was coming home and not paying much attention to her, and me juggling a lot of things that were going on. And my mind tends to race, and sometimes I put things in the back burner that I probably should be paying attention to. And apparently for a while there, my wife literally said to me, I feel like you're just tolerating me. You're just tolerating me being here. And, you know, our conversations are flat and you're not adding anything you know, a substantial to my feelings and whatever. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. And she told me, she's like, look, you just came home. I have this wonderful dinner for you. And I wanted to talk about our days and, you know, have this connection that apparently when I was focusing on other things that I wasn't paying attention to her. And she said it to me. And I really, that when she said, it feels like you're just tolerating me, it struck a chord to me. I'm like, oh my God, am I doing this? Am I forgetting about her? Am I not talking to her like I used to? Is something in us dying? Am I being this person? The story she's outlining here is almost exactly what happened. You know, she's waiting at the door for me to get home, and she's just excited to see me and talk to me. And she had this wonderful dinner ready for me. And I don't know, maybe I was just tired or whatever. I'm not going to make excuses because apparently I was doing it for a while. I felt bad at the time, but now I feel absolutely horrible and devastated. I've done things to work on it. We've definitely overcome this, and you know, I know prioritize her. And sometimes I get lost in my own head and lost in my own projects and things that I'm doing. But this song really hit me. I am going to have to buy her some flowers tonight. Because now she's at work and I'm working from home today doing this. And it tells me that a lot of people have been dealing with this, that our situation isn't unique in any kind of way. And sometimes we take people for granted. And when it builds up and after a while, just feeling like you're being tolerated just to be there, like I've never felt like that. I've never had the feeling that somebody else is just tolerating my existence and being here. Feeling that way from someone that you're in love with must be devastating. Songs like this that remind me that I need to continue to find ways to make her feel celebrated, to make her feel loved, to make her feel as appreciated as she makes me feel. Because sometimes I'm just a fucking idiot, guys. I'm just a fucking idiot, and I get lost in my head, and I don't forget, but I need to not make anybody, I need to never make her feel like this. Man, I swear, sometimes doing this is like therapy for me. But now that we got that out of the way, let's actually talk about it. I mean, Taylor's delivery was restrained. It was quiet. It was delicate. But it had this sense, this natural, quiet anguish to it. It really encapsulates what it must feel like to be just tolerated. And she has plenty of those reflections that I'm always talking about that I enjoy so much. And I'm kind of eating my words right now because it's showcasing devotion and hurt and resignation. And oh God, she's fucking killing me on this one. And sonically, things are sparse here. The message has to be front and center, but there are certain aspects of this song that definitely heighten some of the emotional impacts. Again, we have this looping piano motif, and for extra emotional impact, we decided to do it in a minor key, which definitely adds to the haunting and introspective atmosphere. You know, the melody is simple. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, having a straightforward melody like this really just highlights the actual lyrical content. And, you know, the cinematics are doing what they've done on every song. They're building and swelling and creating tension and relief for key moments in the song to add dramatic effect. However, in this jam, the swells, it doesn't feel like there's any release. It doesn't feel like there's any relief. There's no release. It swells and it builds and then it repeats and it builds and it builds and it builds. Like, I know what she's doing. I know what they're doing. They're essentially making it seem like, you know, this has been going on for a while, and she's been dealing with this for a while, and she just keeps stuffing these emotions down and these problems down over and over and over. And that's what's truly heartbreaking about this, because, you know, by the time she lets out her frustrations and the despair and everything, this is something she's been sitting with and living with for a while. And it's frustrating and it's sad for me because, I mean, how long did it take for my wife to speak up and say something? How long was I doing this, you know? And once again, the percussion is there to really add more atmosphere than actual beat mapping. In fact, it's done in a way where it feels like it's minimal and it's distant. In fact, as the song progresses, it feels like it's kind of shimmering off into the distance there, almost as like a faded reminder of what the song used to be or that person used to be. It's grounded, it's ghostly, it's there, but it's slowly disappearing. This song has ambient textures through the entirety of the song. In fact, it's kind of interesting. It's similar to how the beat mapping feels like it's almost like a heartbeat and it's kind of fading away and getting more distant. Those textures do the same thing. And I think that's supposed to create this sense of, I'm screaming into the void. I'm talking and saying these things, but there's an echo. I'm the only one here. I'm the only one dealing with this. I'm just being tolerated and I'm all alone in this. It creates a sense of desperation and despair and isolation and this quiet anguish that she just has to live with. And it's all just perfectly executed with sound design, sparse instrumentation, and subtle effects. All right, let's see what Meat's got to say about this. I had to find a different AI voice because that one wanted me to pay $20 a month, and I didn't like their voices anyway. So I just paid these guys. Hopefully it sounds more natural.
It can no longer be ignored.
Yeah, like that.
There's a real growing melancholy on this record that was absent from Folklore. Willow was full of infatuation, but since then, we've had 4 straight tracks with heavy weights hanging from them. Even the desires and sources of happiness are bittersweet or questionable, and here we're in full tragedy. This theme of a dissatisfied relationship is weirdly new for Taylor. Like, obviously, she's written a ton about breakups and exes and past relationships, but she's only really described them in the context of them falling apart and ending, like in All Too Well or The Moment I Knew. But here, this troubled, complex, painful, unequal adult relationship described exclusively in the present tense, that feels like something only a, pardon the reference, much older and wiser Taylor could pull off. And I really, really love the high vocals in the second chorus. They just carry the lyrics up to the mountaintop. What a great apex of the track. Dagger in hand, bleeding, telling him that she's capable of doing more than he thinks. Hell yeah. Favorite lyric? Believe me, I could do it.
So yeah, I agree with Meat on this one. There's definitely a different vibe to it. You know, it shares some similarities to Folklore, and I understand why it could be called a sister album, at least from what I've heard so far. But there is definitely a shift in tone.
He did it. He did it. Estes, a friend of mine. We meet up every Tuesday night for dinner and a glass of wine. Estes been losing sleep. Her husband's acting different and it smells like infidelity. She says that ain't my Merlot on his mouth. That ain't my jewelry on our joint account. No, there ain't no doubt. I think I'm gonna call him out. She says, I think he did it, but I just can't prove it.
Okay.
But I just can't prove it. I think he did it, but I just can't prove it. No, nobody, no crime, but I ain't letting up until the day I die. I think he did it. No, he did it. SD wasn't there Tuesday night at Olive Garden, at her job or anywhere. He reports his missing wife, and I noticed when I passed his house, his truck has got some brand new tires.
He killed her?
And his mistress moved in, sleeps in Este's bed and everything. No, there ain't no doubt somebody's gotta catch him out, 'cause I think he did it, but I just can't prove it. I think he did it, but I just can't prove it. I think he did it, but I just can't prove it. No, nobody, no crime, but I ain't letting up until the day I die. I think he did it. He did it. Good thing my daddy made me get a boating license when I was 15. And I've cleaned enough houses to know how to cover up a scene.
Oh, no.
Good thing Este's sister's gonna swear she was with me. She was with me, dude.
Revenge.
Good thing his mistress took out a big life insurance policy. They think she did it, but they just can't prove it. They think she did it, but they just can't prove it. She thinks I did it, but she just can't prove it. No, nobody, no crime, I wasn't letting up until the day. No, nobody, no crime, I wasn't letting up until the day. No, nobody, no crime, I wasn't letting up until the day he died.
All right, so I'm going to be honest with everybody here. I don't know if that was supposed to be funny, but I found it kind of darkly humorous. It's kind of out of left field, too, because after Tolerate It, I wasn't expecting to be dropped in the middle of this cinematic universe surrounded by murder and infidelity and revenge, all kind of wrapped up in this country catchy package here. I mean, the song explores themes of loyalty and justice and how far someone will go to protect the ones they care about. And also narratively, I feel like it does a great job painting this picture of this small town where like secrets travel fast and like everybody's in each other's business. So this week, I'm going to be using Hannah as my co-pilot for this album reaction. She's put together an entire document for me, along with a few other people as well. So maybe next week I'll use somebody else's document. But this week, we're going to be hanging out with Hannah. So let's see what Hannah has to say.
I bet you weren't ready for a murder story. This song tells the most complex story of Evermore, in my opinion. In the beginning, it's about Taylor's friend Estee, who thinks that her husband is cheating on her. She wants to confront him, and in my interpretation, that's when he killed her.
Yeah.
Taylor caught up on that when Estee didn't show up to their weekly meeting and her husband had new tires on his truck. Also, his mistress moved in, and Taylor decides to take revenge. She tells us that she is perfectly prepared to kill him, having a boating license, knowing how to clean properly, and having Este's sister Danielle giving her an alibi. The last chorus shows us that they, probably the police, can't prove it to her, and the mistress, she, also thinks it was her but couldn't prove it. Haim is an American pop rock band from L.A. consisting of 3 sisters, Esta, Danielle, and Alana Haim. In this song, you can hear them more in the background. The Haim sisters have developed a close friendship with Taylor. She and Haim are musical allies, supporting each other both on and off the stage.
So Taylor's vocal performance on this one was definitely fun. It's gritty and it's full of attitude. It's perfectly embodying the role of a determined and vengeful friend. And it's very straightforward, and it continues on that theme of having like this conversational tone that we've heard from the first 5 tracks. And again, that's designed to keep the narrative front and center. Her delivery is also a bit of a throwback here. It reminded me of some of her earlier works. She sang with this like slight country twang to it, which again kind of embodies that country storytelling aspect. And even though at its core, this is kind of a dark song, and I'm sure people find this to be kind of a dark message and whatnot, but Taylor's delivery injects a certain sense of playfulness that I found funny. And the repeating lines of, I think he did it, but I just can't prove it. It's doing a few different things. It's painting the picture of this small town, you know, this like kind of how word travels fast and it's all about gossip. And it's also like creating this like sense of like a bit of menace as well. Like she wants to throw a wrench in the machine. For a simple line that keeps repeating like that and having multiple different meanings, I feel like it adds so much more dynamic to what feels like a very straightforward and simple country pop song. Okay, so the Haim sisters, huh? I'm probably butchering that name, even though I just heard it. I apologize. I've definitely seen this in text, and maybe they've worked together in previous projects, and I just forget. But they were definitely noticeable on the track. In fact, the first couple lines, I believe, are coming from the sisters and not from Taylor. But I feel like the sisters did a great job here. Nobody's really stepping on each other's toes. All of the harmonies fit seamlessly into the mix. Those slightly warmer and darker tones balanced with Taylor's kind of almost creates like this sonic sense of unity. I would imagine the idea of these textures coming together to be a reinforcement of unity, of women coming together to seek some kind of justice. And even though the tone isn't perfectly the same to create like perfect harmonies, it creates a narrative of there's 2 different people plotting against one thing. The instrumentation was also pretty unique on this one as well. It definitely has a harder lean into country and a touch of rock and a sprinkle of Americana, which all reminds me of Fearless. Now with the lyrical context and some of the basic sonic foundations, it leaves us with this dark cinematic soundscape. The dueling electric and acoustic guitars are central for the song's sound. So I was kind of surprised that I enjoyed that twangy guitar slide. It's not something I normally enjoy. In fact, most times I find it to be repetitive and kind of annoying in country music. However, it was contrasted with the acoustic strums. It had that muted drive to it. It just gives the overall texture a little bit more grit. Now, another standout element, at least for me, was the harmonica. It was cool. We haven't heard this one in a little while, and it was nice because it added like a touch of blues to it. It also had like this general mournful quality to it. And to me, adding this instruments contributes to a couple different factors in the song. I feel like it adds to the overall rustic charm of this small town vibe, while also amplifying the tension and the drama. And the bass line is fun too. It's steady yet ominous, and it essentially gives the song a sense of urgency. So the drums are tight and minimal, but that's by design. The focus is simple: create a driving rhythm that propels a story forward. There's also some subtle and fun sound design in this track that adds to the overall cohesive feel. Sound effects like sirens and background noise, it's all to enhance the narrative of realism. Now, the effects are used sparingly, but they are effective, and I feel like they contribute to the suspenseful and cinematic feel.
Honey, when I'm above the trees, I see this for what it is. But now I'm right down in it. All the years I've given, it's just shit we're dividing up. Showed you all of my hiding spots. I was dancing when the music stopped. And in the disbelief, I can't face reinvention. I haven't met the new me yet. There'll be happiness after you, but there was happiness because of you. Both of these things can be true. There is happiness past the blood and bruise, past the curses and cries, beyond the terror in the nightfall. Haunted by the look in my eyes that would have loved you for a lifetime. Leave it all behind, and there is happiness. Tell me, when did your winning smile begin to look like a smirk? When did all our lessons start to look like weapons pointed at my deepest hurt? I hope she'll be a beautiful fool who takes my spot next to you. No, I didn't mean that. Sorry, I can't see facts through all of my fury. You haven't met the new me yet.
She kept it in.
There'll be happiness after me, but there was happiness because of me. Both of these things I believe there is happiness in our history. Across a great divide, there is a glorious sunrise, dappled with the flickers of light from the dress I wore at midnight. Leave it all behind, and there is happiness. I can't make it go away by making you a villain. I guess it's the price I paid for 7 years in heaven. And I pulled your body into mine every goddamn night. Now I get fake niceties. No one teaches you what to do. But a good man hurts you.
Good man.
You know you hurt him too. Honey, when I'm above the trees, I see it for what it is. But now my eyes leak acid rain on the pillow where you used to lay your head. After giving you the best I had, tell me what to give after that. All you want from me now is the green light of forgiveness. You haven't met the new me yet, and I think she'll give you that.
She's not there yet, though.
There'll be happiness after you, but there was happiness because of you too. Both of these things can be true. There is happiness in our history. Across a great divide, there is a glorious sunrise, dappled with the flickers of light from the dress I wore at midnight. Leave it all behind. Oh, leave it all behind. Leave it all behind, and there is happiness.
That is some great writing. So we move on to the ambivalent, the gray area of life. I mean, at its core, it's a reflective ballad that explores the complexities of healing and moving on after a painful breakup. But it's so much more than that. The song is a deep dive into the emotional nuance of love and loss and the eventual idea of acceptance. The thing is that it doesn't play out like a movie. It's not a straightforward story. It doesn't wrap up clean and nicely. It celebrates and embraces the gray areas of this post-relationship and the emotions associated with them. It acknowledges both the pain and the gratitude for the good memories. There's no villain. There's no victor. It's just life. Let's see what Hannah's got to say about this one.
She did it again. One of these sad but beautifully written songs. Taylor wrote this about a close friend who was going through a divorce at the time, and I think that shows how empathetic she is and what a good friend she is. I have never been through a divorce. In fact, I have never even been in a relationship yet. But this song still makes me feel like I understand what it would be like. Her mature way of being honest about the fact that you sometimes can't see this for what it is.
It's one of the reasons why for over a decade now, Taylor's been a staple in the music scene. It's the reason why people can connect with her work and see value in it, even though not directly experiencing those feelings. Now, it breaks my heart that this is coming from a real, true place and that one of our friends was dealing with this. But I also find some comfort in the fact that she was trying to comfort one of her friends with this song. And it really does. It shows to her personality, it shows to her character that she's trying to invoke these emotions and these stories and share with people and hopefully offer some healing by sharing some of the ideas of what happens in these kind of situations where there is no clear-cut bad person. There's no abuse. It's just this continual sense of trauma or falling out of love or whatever the case may have been. These things happen. This is life. And these are the stories that she writes about. These are the things that connect people to her music. You know, she really grounds herself in these stories, and she can imprint herself in other people's stories and change how a stranger would hear them in a way that connects all of us. This is a gift. This is not something that is easily done. This isn't something where you can be vague and somewhat poetic. You have to meticulously think about the story, the lyrics, how it's presented, and the delivery. And so far, this might be some of the most mature and nuanced lyrics I've heard on Evermore yet. There's no clear-cut emotions. You're just transported to the conflicting feelings that come with the end of a deep relationship. But it does capture the duality of heartbreak and hope. It acknowledges that there is this deep, lingering pain, but it also recognizes that there was good times as well. It's lines like, "There'll be happiness after you, but there was happiness because of you," conveys the idea that happiness and sorrow can coexist. It's that messy process of life and letting go when blame isn't exactly black and white. One of my favorite lyrics from this song is, "I haven't met the new me yet." It's a reflection on the uncertainty and the growth that will happen after a breakup. And it's not just the words. Her delivery creates a sense of accountability and release. The very personal and intimate journey that we're all on that's also this kind of shared experience of trying to find inner peace. Now, Taylor's delivery is soft and reflective, and it's full of subtle emotional nuances. The delivery is restrained, yet it's powerful. It feels personal, and I guess that it is, because she's talking about a friend of hers. And although the track is mainly subtle, there are some swells. There are some moments where like emotional intensity builds. It's lines like, "I hope she'll be a beautiful fool." She uses these subtle shifts in intensity without breaking its calm and introspective flow. And the use of layered harmonies adds some richness and some depth to key moments. It like creates this sense of internal dialogue or these kind of like echoing thoughts. And the harmonies are soft and a bit understated. It's mirroring the layered nature of the song's emotions. And the instrumentation on this track is minimal, but it's richly textured, blending organic and electronic elements to create a dreamy and meditative sound. Now, the piano is the backbone of this song, playing gentle, repeating chords that create this melancholic yet soothing atmosphere. Those soft, echoing notes provide this stable foundation for the vocals. All the while these ambient synth pads are weaving in and out of the mix. It's adding a sense of spacious depth. These electronic textures are giving this song this ethereal quality. And then we have these delicate strings that are introduced in the later half of the song, adding more warmth and emotional resonance. A part of me wanted to have these strings be more of a predominant part in the song. I was expecting it to build a little bit higher to add to the cinematic feel. But I get it. I understand what they're going for. The strings need to be delicate enough to not overpower the song, but also add to the reflective tone of what they're trying to convey. And in that aspect, I think they nailed it. This is another track where the percussion is mostly minimal, consisting of light muted beats and these almost quasi-ghost notes. It all just kind of pulses in the background. But I think it's predominant enough to ground the more ambient aspects of this song. Happiness is a beautiful and nuanced exploration into the complexities of love and loss. It's a song that doesn't offer any easy answers, but instead invites the listener to sit with conflicting emotions, finding beauty in both joy and sorrow in the story of moving on. It's a song about the intricacies of human relationships, and it's delivered with grace and honesty. And it's one of my favorite tracks on this album.
Hey Dorothea, do you ever stop and think about me? got shiny friends since you left town. A tiny screen's the only place I see you now. And I got nothing but well wishes for ya.
We needed this.
Ooh, this place is the same as it ever was. Ooh, but you don't like it that way. It's never too late to come back to my side. The stars in your eyes shined brighter in Tupelo. And if you're ever tired of being known for who you know, you know, you always know me, Dorothea. Off your mom and her pageant schemes. And damn, Dorothea, they all wanna be ya, but are you still the same soul I met under the bleachers? Well, ooh, I guess I'll never know. Ooh, and you'll go on with the show. It's never too late to come back to my side. The stars in your eyes shined brighter in Tupelo. And if you're ever tired of being known for who you know, you know, you'll always know me, Dorothea.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I needed that. That was nice. That was refreshing. It's a warm and nostalgic song that explores themes of friendship, longing, and the overall passage of time. It tells a story of a narrator reflecting on someone from their past who left their small town for some bigger dreams. And I guess they stayed behind. The song is filled with a sense of wistfulness and affection, which I guess offers a narrative that feels both personal and universal. Let's see what Hannah thought about this one.
Finally, we get to the other side of the story. Dorothea is the name of the girl that's speaking in "'Tis the Damn Season." And here we can hear how the other one is feeling about her.
Okay.
I don't want to assume it's a guy, are singing directly at Dorothea and telling her she could still come back to them. But at the end of the song, they seem to be unsure about her still being the girl they loved by saying, "But are you still the same soul I met under the bleachers?" I could also think of this being a hint at Jack Antonoff's band Bleachers.
So that is an interesting point, you know? After they have left, are they going to be the same person when they come back? The same person from underneath those bleachers? Or has the fame gone to their head? Although I don't know what they're doing for work. I mean, they're just out there selling magazines. Like, I don't know. I did that shit in 5th grade. I don't know if they made you guys do that stuff, but they made me do it. I had to like go to my neighbors with like a magazine and be like, do you want to buy this stuff? And if you do, I get points. And then I can buy myself one of those phones that are clear and you can see through the wires and stuff. And I really want this, so buy some shit. But I don't think personally the fame ever went to my head, and I never got that goddamn phone. You know, the clear one you could see through with the giant cord and stuff? It's crazy that schools can force labor upon children to sell their crap. Like, it's, what are we doing? Now I'm pissed off. I got bamboozled. I never got my phone, and I got forced into doing some labor for my school. I hope they don't do this shit anymore. But I do think the switch in perspective is cool. It's interesting to see the other person from the perspective of looking from the outside and having like this sense of yearning and like a sense of pride. It's obviously a very different life than they are living, but I like the idea of there not being any kind of animosity between them, that there's no like jealousy or anything. They're just generally happy for them. It's nice to know that even though this time and distance has separated them, there's still this relationship that has been cherished and they still want the best for each other. There's a sense of longing for simpler times. And Taylor's vocal performance was relaxed and sweet and full of warmth. And the delivery captures that nostalgic and heartfelt nature of the lyrics, making the song feel like it's a conversation with an old friend. But there is also a touch of playfulness to her tone. Like when she sings "It's never too late to come back to my side," this playful warmth adds to the song's charm, and it makes things more approachable and it invites you into the story. And I liked how subdued the layered harmonies are. It adds a sense of richness and depth without actually overpowering the melody. And they're not only layered, but they're not completely quantized as well. They're slightly off time. It's as if multiple voices from the past are echoing the same memories. The instrumentation is charming and folk pop centric. All the tones are clean and organic, which enhances the nostalgia and overall warmth. The guitar's warm tone is central to the song's laid-back vibe. The acoustic guitar is the driving force behind this song, providing a steady and strummed rhythm that feels both cozy and familiar. And then the piano adds this beautiful brightness to the texture. It's so simple, but those gentle rolling chords, the natural brightness of it all, really enhances the natural warmth of the guitar. It all feels very inviting and warm and comfortable, which again leans into the nostalgia side of this song. The percussion, once again, is muted and minimal, not drawing too much attention to itself to allow the other foundations of this song to flourish. But rhythmically, it still does a good job moving the song forward. Now, the bass is very low-key in this track as well, but it is effective. It adds a sense of depth to the arrangement, while keeping things light and airy. It's very minimal, but it's kind of cool. It just anchors the entire track. It's the bittersweet nature of change. It's that alluring pull of comfortability, the idea of warmth, the pull in the idea of wanting to go home. Even if your idea of home is somebody that left theirs.
Break my soul in two, looking for you, but you're right here. If I can't relate to you any more, then who am I related to? And if this is the long haul, how'd we get here so soon? Did I close my fist around something delicate? Did I shatter you? And I'm sitting on a bench in Coney Island, wondering where did my baby go? The fast times, the bright lights, the merry-go. Sorry for not making you my centerfold. Over and over, lost again with no surprises. Disappointments, close your eyes and it gets colder and colder when the sun goes down.
The question pounds my head, what's a lifetime of achievement?
I didn't know it was a duet.
If I pushed you to the edge, but you were too polite to leave me. Do you miss the rogue who coaxed you into paradise and left you there? Will you forget give my soul. You're too wise to trust me and too old to care.
It's not quantized again.
'Cause we were like the mall before the internet. It was the one place to be. The mischief that gift wrapped suburban dreams.
Sorry for not winning you an arcade ring. Over and over, lost again with no surprises, disappointments. Close your eyes and it gets colder and colder when the sun goes down.
Were you waiting at a road spot in the tree line by the gold clock? Did I leave you hanging every single day?
Were you standing in the hallway with a big cake? Happy birthday. Did I paint your bluest skies the darkest gray? The universe away. And when I got into the accident, the sight that flashed before me was your face.
But when I walked up to the podium, I think that I forgot to say your name. I'm on a bench in Coney Island, wondering where did my baby go? The fast times, the bright lights, the merry-go. Sorry for not making you my centerfold. Over and over, lost again with no surprises, disappointments. Close your eyes and it gets colder and colder. The sun goes down. When the sun goes down, the sight that flashed before me was your face. When the sun goes down, but I think that I forgot to say your name over and over. Sorry for not making you mine, making you mine, making you my centerfold.
So I kind of just let the playlist do its thing, and I didn't realize this was a duet. I didn't even look down to see it was featuring the Nationals. So hearing that very raw baritone voice was a little surprising. And in first impressions, I think this is about misconnections and lost love. It's about a relationship that both partners felt like they let drift apart. And it appears this track is just riddled with metaphors. There's a contrast of joy and sadness as the narrator explains happier times that now, due to the neglect of both of them, are distant memories. It's that painful realization of taking love for granted. Or hear me out, who knows, maybe Taylor just misses bumper cars. Oh, let's see what Hannah's got to say about this one.
In this song, Taylor and Matt are singing from two different perspectives again. It's about loss and the doubt resulting from that. Their voices build a great harmony, and it really sounds like a song from the National to me, although I haven't heard much of their music. It's not my type, but I can see why people would love this song and the National's music in general. Maybe you or the other Swifties watching the reaction can help me learn to like this song by explaining it to me, because I feel like I just didn't really get it content-wise.
Okay. Oh, Hannah, I'm so sorry. Don't ask me why I picture Hannah as this 50-year-old Marlboro-smoking, whiskey-drinking cowboy from the South, but it amuses me. All right, so I'll try and break this one down then. Now, I could be wrong, but to me, this one seems pretty straightforward. Taylor's opening up about being emotionally devastated by somebody who is physically present but emotionally distant. There seems to be a deep internal fracture, and she's searching for a connection. It's emotional alienation where love and understanding no longer exists. So the chorus places us in this metaphorical setting, Coney Island, known for its amusement parks and bright lights and nostalgic charm. And if I had to guess, I would say Coney Island is a symbol for what this relationship once was, an exciting, thrilling relationship. But now it's empty and there's this isolation. The imagery of sitting on this bench and feeling alone creates a sense of isolation when so much is happening. There's a natural stillness to all of this. And in this stillness surrounding her is all the excitements of Coney Island, all the excitements of the relationship that once was. Now, I don't know much about the National either. I think Matt did a pretty good job here, and I could see why people would also enjoy their music. It's just not something that's immediately familiar to me. But the duet does add a dialogue type quality to the song. Both voices are reflecting on different sides of the relationship. So not only was I caught off by a male vocal on this track, but also the delivery, also the introduction to his voice. There's a certain weariness to how he entered this track. His delivery was somber in a way that immediately highlights regret. And Matt's deep baritone directly contrasts Taylor's higher and more delicate vocals. I think that's designed to add some weight to his overall reflections on his missed moments where he could have fix things. So I gotta say the relationships that are outlined in this album seem to be a bit more self-aware and also seem to be a bit more mature. They're talking about things that they could have done themselves to fix the problems and not seeing somebody else immediately as the enemy and instead looking within for the problems that they may have caused. Now that's not to say that Taylor's never highlighted relationships this way, it just seems to be an ongoing theme here. It's lyrics like that I leave you hanging every single day, and the delivery, it all emphasizes deep regret and emotional neglect. He knows that he failed to be present in the relationship when it was most needed. And it's like only now, as he sees things failings, that he understands the shortcoming of this relationship and the impact it's had on both of them. So what's interesting about this track, and I don't think it's ever been done or I've heard yet, is I feel like her place in the mix, her voice is actually there to highlight his deep baritone. Normally when Taylor has somebody featured on her track, it's either blended seamlessly together or Taylor is just slightly above, just a little bit higher in the mix. On this, the bass has been turned way up and Taylor actually just provides more of a haunting soundscape with her delivery. So it's definitely interesting. So to me, sonically, the piano and the strings dominate the arrangement, with minimal percussion as the song gradually builds as the song progresses. And all this is designed to create a rich and textured backdrop for the vocals. I mean, the piano plays so softly, as if it's tiptoeing around the lyrics. I guess it's reflecting on the fragility of the relationship being described. The strings enter later, gradually swelling to amplify the emotional impact, and as the strings become a bit more prevalent in the mix, they swell gradually to amplify the emotional stakes, particularly in the final moments of the song. And the percussion in this track is interesting because for the most part, it's pretty much inaudible. Again, keeping the focus on the emotional narrative. It's a song about reflection, regret, and loss that comes from the realization that the vibrancy of this relationship has now dimmed, leaving only memories of once was.
How's one to know? I'd meet you where the spirit meets the bones in a faith forgotten land. In from the snow, your touch brought forth an incandescent glow, tarnished but so grand. And the old widow goes to the stone every day, but I don't, I just sit here and wait, grieving for the living. Oh, goddamn, my pain pits in the palm of your freezing hand, taking mine, but it's been promised to another. Oh, I can't stop you putting.
Who's she layering with?
My house of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered in you. I wish to know the fatal flaw that makes you long to be magnificently cursed. He's in the room, your opal eyes are all I wish to see. He wants what's only yours. Oh, goddamn, my pain fits in the palm of your freezing hand, taking mine, but it's been promised to another. Oh, I can't stop you putting roots in my dreamland. My house of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered. Clover blooms in the fields, spring breaks loose, the time is near. What would he do if he found us out? Crescent moon, coast is clear, spring breaks loose, but so does fear. He's gonna burn this house to the ground. just sit and watch what will become and drink my husband's wine. Oh, goddamn, my pain fits in the palm of your freezing hand. Taking mine, but it's been promised to another. Oh, I can't stop you putting roots in my dreamland. My house of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered in you. And I'm covered in you. So yeah, it's a fire, it's a goddamn blaze in the dark, and you started it, you started it. So yeah, it's a war, it's the goddamn fight of my life, and you started it, you started it. Oh, I can't stop you putting roots in my dreamland. My house of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered in you. In you. Now I'm covered in you.
So once again, I believe there is a lot of metaphors in this, some tongue-in-cheek moments, but it can really be broken down into 4 basic components. The song is about desire, guilt, conflict, and surrender. I'm going to get more into that, but let's see what Hannah's got to say.
First of all, I love this song. Just by listening and reading the lyrics, it seems that this song is about 2 people loving each other, even though one of them is already promised to another. They are worried about what might happen if he finds out about them, but can't seem to end it. A little more background to this song can be given by the story of Emily Dickinson. She was little known during her life, but through her younger sister finding her poems after her death in 1886, Emily is now considered one of the most important American poets in history. In 1998, the New York Times reported that much of her work had been deliberately censored to exclude the name Susan. At least 11 of Emily's poems were dedicated to her sister-in-law, Susan Huntington Gilbert Dickinson. Their relationship was interpreted as romantic by many scholars, even though Sue married Emily's brother. You might be able to learn more about that by watching the Dickinson series. I don't know for sure because I haven't watched it. According to some YouTube comments, good source, I know XD, Taylor also authorized this song to be played in the series after an important moment between Emily and Sue.
God, I love this AI voice. Okay, so the opening lines immediately plunge us into this mystical, almost otherworldly atmosphere. And it's all wrapped in like this metaphorically driven affair. And it doesn't seem to be an affair that's driven by lust. Lines like "where the spirit meets the bones" suggest a very deep connection. And their faith-forgotten land could represent a place where societal or moral rules no longer hold sway. A limited space where their love can exist freely, though it is forbidden in the real world. And the use of spiritual metaphors makes it seem like this love was always inevitable. But that does not mean that it's not loaded with emotional weight. And this all sets the tone for the rest of the song, where love and guilt are intertwined. "In from the snow, your touch brought forth an incandescent glow, tarnished but so grand." And I feel like this imagery of glowing, this contrast, this glowing imagery contrast with the coldness of the snow is really just highlighting the emotional heat and the intensity of the affair itself. And I gotta believe the word tarnished signals that while their love feels grand and powerful, it's marred by the circumstances. Mostly the fact that it is in fact an affair. So we continue with this contrast or this pull between beauty and guilt. And as we approach the bridge, it escalates things. It escalates from fire to war. Now, all of this is talking about the emotional hold that it's taking on her. This is no longer about desire or passion. It's turned into a conflict where she's struggling with her emotions, her morals, and the weight of her decisions. And that repetition of "you started it" kind of suggests that her lover initiated everything, but now she's left to grapple with the consequences of her decision. And that blaze is no longer a symbol of passion. It threatens to consume everything. I found Taylor's vocals to be airy and ethereal, and that does match the song's dreamy and surreal quality, and the delivery is soft in a very intimate way. But again, there is this touch of inflection. It's a certain breathiness that creates a sense of vulnerability. The production, yes, is folk-inspired, but it does have this pastoral quality. With acoustic guitars and layered harmonies, it's creating this lush and natural sound. There's warmth to this sound design, with reverb used to create depth and space around the vocals. The acoustic guitar is the main instrument, supported by soft percussion, strings, and subtle pads. And the arrangement builds gently with nice layered harmonies. Now, honestly, sonically, a lot is happening here. More instruments are introduced as the song progresses, but it's all shaped around the intricate and flowing acoustic guitar. And as that flowing guitar loops, it just reminds me of like ivy climbing up a building. In fact, I think a lot of the production is used to mimic the aspect of something being consumed by something, either ivy or fire. I mean, even the layered vocal harmonies, it adds a lush and natural vocal texture, almost mimicking the overgrowth of ivy. Now, due to the subtle synths in this song, we feel like we have this nice wide open area, but the vocals feel like they're intertwining with each other, like it's wrapping around itself. It's kind of almost claustrophobic. So I guess to me, what I pull from this is ivy is about the uncontrollable growth of an affair, using the metaphor of ivy to represent how love can take over somebody's life, despite the consequences. I mean, it's romantic, but it's definitely conflicted.
And the tennis court was covered up with some tent-like thing. And you asked me to dance, but I said dancing is a dangerous game. Oh, I thought this is gonna be one of those things. Now I know I'm never gonna love again. I've got some tricks up my sleeve. Takes one to know one. You're a cowboy like me. Never wanted love, just a fancy car. Now I'm waiting by the phone like I'm sitting in an airport bar. You had some tricks up your sleeve. Takes one to know one. You're a cowboy like me, perched in the dark, telling all the rich folks anything they wanna hear, like it could be love. I could be the way for it, only if they pay for it. You're a bandit like me, eyes full of stars, hustling for the good life. Never thought I'd meet you here. It could be love, we could be the way for it, and I know I'll pay for it. You're a cowboy like me, perched in the dark, telling all the rich folks anything they wanna hear, like it could be love. I could be the way for it, only if they pay for it. You're a bandit like me, eyes full of stars, hustling for the good life. Never thought I'd meet you here. It could be love, we could be the way for it, and I know I'll pay for it. And the skeletons in both our closets plotted hard to fuck this up. And the old men that I've swindled really did believe I was the one. And the ladies lunching had their stories about when you passed through town. Oh, that was all before loving forever is the sweetest haunt. I had some tricks up my sleeve. Takes one to know one. You're a cowboy like me, and I'm never gonna love again. I'm never gonna love again. I'm never gonna love again.
Okay, so once again, Taylor delivers another song that is absolutely soaked in nuance and hidden metaphors and some great world building. And the whole thing builds out like this soft slow dance of these two souls who can see themselves in each other. I really enjoy the vivid imagery of the whole story coming to life. It paints a picture of this protagonist played as this modern day wanderer or cowboy who traverses the landscape of love with caution. And the characters are designed to be these connoisseurs of solitude. They believe they've mastered the art of self-preservation. They have a shared hesitation of trust. The lyrics do a great job capturing the tension and the vulnerability and the desire. And that illustrates a connection that's both daunting and irresistible. Let's see what Hannah's got to say about this one.
Thematically, Cowboy Like Me revolves around a relationship between two individuals who are both described as cowboys. In this context, the term cowboy serves as a metaphor for someone leading a tough and independent life,
Right.
possibly even someone accustomed to breaking hearts without getting hurt easily themselves. The lyrics show how these two cowboys meet and become entangled in a relationship full of adventure and passion.
Okay, so Hannah and I are on the same page as the basic foundation of this song is presented. But outside of that basic foundation of two people seeing versions of themselves within each other, there's a lot going on. There's so much context given to these characters and this world building with just so few words. Immediately, it feels like you're playing catch up with this story. Like it's already been going on. The characters have been developed. This world has been here for a long time, and you're just a couple chapters behind. And outside of the settings, we're introduced to some of the psyche of the main protagonist. She recognizes that dancing is a dangerous game, maybe admitting that she might be vulnerable to having some sort of intimacy with somebody, and just getting close with somebody might lead to something else, and at that point she might not be able to control what she already has so much control over. And it sounds like she's made peace with her isolation. She says it right here, I'm never going to love again. And she can immediately recognize the person who's asking her to dance is somewhat like her. She has tricks up her sleeve, but he kind of knows about it. You're a cowboy like me. It takes one to know one. So despite her best efforts to keep herself guarded and not fall for this guy, eventually she does. So now she recognizes that she's vulnerable. And I love this line right here, or this couple lines. Now I'm waiting by the phone like I'm sitting in an airport bar. It says so much with so little said. Try and picture yourself at an airport bar. If you've never been to an airport bar, they're kind of odd places. Everyone's a little bit on edge, whether they're going on vacation or going to work or coming home, and it's kind of an odd feeling. There's a certain sense of tension in that bar that's surrounded by everybody that's having this communal experience. Nobody at that bar is as comfortable as they would be if they were at their neighborhood Chili's slamming slippery nipples. It's just so clever, man. So the song continues with the two protagonists doing what they do best, and that is swindling the rich people out of their money. And due to this life of crime, obviously there's going to be some skeletons in each other's closet, and it's outlined here that even that might fuck it up, but still they push on towards that great con. And as we approach the end of this song, everything swings back around full circle, and to me this has a different meaning than how it was said at the beginning. In the beginning of the song, she says, I'm never going to love again, which to me confirmed that she was fine with being solitude, she was fine with being this lone traveling cowboy, but now her saying I'm never going to love again, at least to me, feels like her accepting this person and knowing that she's never going to love somebody else again. She's officially found love. She's found the sweetest con. I can already tell this is a song I'm going to be thinking about for a while. But as always, the lyrics are only half of what's happening here. Taylor's delivery continues that subtle art of intimacy. Each note feels influenced by a sense of longing and introspection. I loved that delicate vibrato. It adds so much depth to the performance. I mean, it's conveying the internal struggle of the character. characters. Taylor has some great vocal dynamics on this track. To me, it mirrors the natural ebb and flow of this unfolding relationship. And each instrument serves a purposeful role in conveying the song's narrative. That warm acoustic guitar once again is a focal point for familiarity. And the steel guitar and the slide pedal adds to that cowboy archetype. The bass and the piano are perfectly mixed and deepen the emotional resonance. And the guitars and piano and bass, they all play together. They have this interesting symmetry. It comes across as almost one sonic sound. The harmonies weaving together creates this thread of uncertainty and a touch of desire. I mean, even the percussion adds to the narrative. The restrained rhythm mirrors the cautious steps the characters take towards one another. And the strings and pads was a nice touch. You got those nice, warm, organic strings, and you got these electronic, shimmery pads coming together. It's very subtle, but it adds to the overall cinematic quality. Cowboy Like Me is a delicate balance between exploration and self-reliance and the yearning of connection. It captures the essence of two individuals who have used isolation as armor, only to find out they're still vulnerable to their own desires.
Faithfully, I tried to pick my battles till the battle picked me. Misery, like the war of words I shouted in my sleep. And you passed right by. I was in the alley, surrounded on all sides. A knife cuts both ways if the shoe fits. Walking it till your high heels break. And I fell from the pedestal, right down the rabbit hole. Long story short, it was a bad time. Pushed from the precipice, clung to the nearest lips. Long story short, it was the wrong guy. Now I'm all about you. I'm all about you. I'm all about you. Actually, I always felt I must look better in the rear view. Missing me at the golden gates they once held the keys to. When I dropped my sword, I threw it in the bushes and knocked on your door. And we live in peace, but if someone comes at us, this time I'm ready. Cause I fell from the pedestal, right down the rabbit hole. Long story short, it was a bad time. Pushed from the precipice, clung to the nearest lips. Long story short, it was the wrong guy. Now I'm all about you. I'm all about you. I'm all about you. No more keeping score. Now I just keep you warm. No more tug of war. Now I just know there's more. No more keeping score. Now I just keep you warm. And my waves meet your shore ever and evermore. Past me, I wanna tell you not to get lost in these petty things. Your nemesis will defeat themselves before you get the chance to swing. And he's passing by, rare as the glimmer of a comet in the sky. And he feels like home if the shoe fits, walking it everywhere you go. And I fell from the pedestal, right down the rabbit hole. Long story short, it was a bad time. Pushed from the precipice, climbed right back up the cliff. Long story short, I survived. Now I'm all about you. 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 Long story short, it was a bad time. Long story short, I survived.
Okay, so I gotta believe Taylor's the protagonist in this one. It's a journey through personal and public struggles. I think she's referencing past conflicts and some mistakes without personally naming anybody. Instead, she's using metaphors and storytelling to convey her message. It narrates her path from a place of hardships to moving on to one of understanding and acceptance. She reflects on lessons learned, emphasizing growth over dwelling on the past. To me, the lyrics highlight resilience in prioritizing what actually matters, and it highlights her evolution both personally and artistically. But let's see what Hannah's got to say.
I think this is one of the more personal songs on the album. It tells the story of someone who was once put up on a pedestal. Taylor uses these exact words when talking about Mirrorball in the Long Pond studio sessions, but then experienced a downfall. As you know, the story fits what happened to Taylor before Reputation was released. It also involves the line, "Now I'm all about you," which implies that there was someone that helped her concentrate on something else and getting out of the hole she was hiding in. Also, the line, "And we live in peace," can be seen as the answer to the last lines of Peace from Folklore.
Interesting.
Which were, "Would it be enough if I could never give you peace?" It seems like she was able to live in peace with her partner in the end, although probably not forever, as we know by now. What I like about this song is that it doesn't focus on how bad she felt during that time of her life, but rather on how she managed to get back up and keep going. It delivers the message that you can climb right back up the cliff after facing difficult moments.
So I didn't immediately make that connection between some of those songs on Folklore like Peace and Mirrorball and how it might be playing out here, but I think it does continue that general sense of evolution. Let's talk vocals for a second. Again, Taylor has that personal conversational tone, which again highlights some of the intimacy of the track. And while her vocal delivery was more melodic on this one, it still came across like she was sharing a story with a friend. They were upbeat and spirited, matching the song's lively tempo, and I believe this is designed to convey a sense of optimism and moving forward. She did a great job using dynamic phrasing to emphasize key emotions. For instance, emphasizing certain syllables to convey lingering feelings, or the use of a staccato delivery to emphasize divisiveness. The background vocals and harmonies are layered subtly, enriching the song's texture without overshadowing the melody. And sonically, things have taken a bit of a shift in this song as well, not only with a faster tempo, but with the upswing melody. This energetic rhythm helped propel the song forward, and I think that's supposed to mirror the theme of moving past difficulties. The beat mapping definitely gives the song a more contemporary feel. Also, the synthetic elements play a significant role. It provides a modern and polished sound. They add brightness to an atmospheric backdrop that supports the vocal melody, but it's the electric guitar that really contributes to the dynamic range. It adds a raw, organic texture that bridges the gap of the synthetic sounds. I believe the guitar, at least texturally, was designed in a way to mimic the tension and release in overcoming past struggles. It bridges the gap between the more introspected verses and the more assertive choruses. And the bass does a great job providing depth and groove, anchoring the harmonic structure. It enhances the rhythmic foundation and adds warmth to the overall sound. Yeah, man, it's a thoughtfully crafted song that combines introspective lyrics with this energetic production. And Taylor's use of metaphorical language outlines a creative journey of growth and acceptance.
Never be so kind, you forget to be clever. Never be so clever, you forget to be kind. And if I didn't know better, I think you were talking to me now. If I didn't know better, I think you were still around. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive in my head. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive, so alive. Never be so polite, you forget your power. Never wield such power, you forget to be polite. And if I didn't know better, I think you were listening to me now.
a singer.
What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive in my head. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive, so alive. The autumn chill that wakes me up. You love the amber sky so much. Long limbs and frozen swims. You'd always go past where our feet could touch. And I complained the whole way there. The car ride back and up the stairs. I should have asked you questions. I should have asked you how to be. Asked you to write it down for me. Should have kept every grocery store receipt.
Is that Taylor?
Scrap of you would be taken from me. Watched as you signed your name, Marjorie. All your closets of backlog dreams, and how you left them all to me.
Oh!
What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay
Oh!
dead. You're alive in my head. What died didn't stay dead. What died didn't stay dead. You're alive, so alive. And if I didn't know better, I think you were singing to me now.
Oh.
If I didn't know better, I think you were still around.
I think it's her grandmother.
I know better, but I still feel you all around. I know
It is! Oh, Jesus.
but you're still around.
That's different. Okay, so I definitely didn't catch on right away. Thank you again for recommending this lyric video, because I don't think I ever would have known just reading off the Spotify thing. But this was wild, dude. I thought she was talking about another random celebrity that just meant something to her, like Rebecca Harkness and other people she sang about in the past. I don't think that's the case. I think this is actually her grandmother, who used to be involved in the arts in some kind of way. I was trying to read that little pop-up there of an article about her in the newspaper. Seems like she was some kind of singer. And scrolling back to the credits here, I'm seeing there's some backing vocals from Marjorie right here on the track. I guess that was that ghostly sound that I heard in the background. What a beautiful and awesome tribute this is. Now, I don't think there's really any metaphors in this. It's all pretty straightforward. She's expressing a longing for more wisdom and time with her grandmother. She's expressing admiration and missed opportunities. And it sounds like she was incredibly wise, and even gives us kind of a glimpse into some of her personality that I'm seeing in Taylor now. Never be so kind that you forget to be clever. It's timeless advice, you know? It's that delicate dance between intellect and compassion. And Jesus, the repeating lines of "what died didn't stay dead" suggest that her influence still remains alive with Taylor. Man, this album is full of so many surprises. Let's check out what Hannah had to say.
I hope you are okay after listening to that song. You might have needed a tissue. This song is deeply personal to Taylor. She writes about missing her grandmother, who passed away when Taylor was 13 years old. One of the lines in this song that Taylor described further is, "all your closets of backlogged dreams." Her grandma was an opera singer, and in her closet she had a lot of beautiful dresses. Taylor wishes she had asked her where she wore every one of these dresses, because Marjorie was an opera singer. Taylor got the opportunity to somehow sing together with her on this track and on every night of her ongoing tour. Her mother fond old records of Marjorie Finley and Aaron Dessner was able to mix them in as background vocals.
Little samples.
At one concert, her fans even hold up pictures of her grandmother during that song, And you could see that Taylor was really touched by that.
That's cool. I think that's so cool that the fans held up pictures of her grandmother. She's doing this beautiful tribute. I can't wait to see the videos of that. So yeah, well, the song is obviously deeply personal to Taylor. I can't help but think about how the song is also relatable. We've all lost somebody, and we know the impact that has on us. And I loved Taylor's tone on this. It is just so soft and delicate. It's just creating this sense of vulnerability, but overall, anything else, it really just creates a sense of sincerity. It's just so intimate. It draws you into these personal reflections. There's subtle shifts in volume, which is interesting because this doesn't happen very often in any of her music or in music in general, but it's designed in a way to emphasize key points, key emotional anchor points. I mean, her voice rising in, I guess what I'll call the chorus, is such a surge of emotion. But in my opinion, one of the coolest elements of this song is the fact that Marjorie is actually on the recording, and they did it in a pretty unique way. The subtle harmonies between Taylor and her grandmother is something else. I can only imagine what that was like in the studio, how emotional that must have been. So Marjorie was an opera singer, so obviously her vocals are going to be, well, a little operatic, which is definitely in a different register than Taylor normally sings in, but on this album in particular, her register seems to be a bit lower anyway. So that balance between the operatic falsetto and Taylor's lower resonance adds this beautiful, haunting harmony. Knowing the context, I don't even know what to say. It's definitely wild. And the careful attention to vocal phrasing adds so much depth to the lyrics. I mean, she allows almost certain words just to hang there. They're just lingering. It adds to the haunting effect. I guess the piano would be the central instrument, providing a delicate and steady foundation, but the chords are so gentle. And the guitar adds some warmth to the texture. The strumming patterns are soft and rhythmic, supporting the melody without overpowering it. So the orchestral elements of this track are interesting because on one hand, it's kind of mournful. It's a reflection on loss and about not asking the right questions or asking more questions and wishing they were there with you right now. But on the other side, there's this sense of celebration, a celebration of life and how their words, their thoughts, and their emotions have helped shape Taylor in a way that they're still there. It's an interesting dichotomy because I feel like the orchestral elements are really highlighting both facets, both sides. They mirror the swell of emotions associated with grief and love. They're beautifully done. And the electronic elements help all of that, giving the song an ambient texture that help give these orchestrations some natural glow, almost as if they're representing Marjorie's spirit. I mean, it's a beautifully crafted piece that honors loved ones that shaped our lives even after they're gone. And I absolutely love it.
It's been a long time, and seeing the shape of your name still spells out pain.
That's interesting.
It wasn't right, the way it all went down. Looks like you know that now. Yes, I got your letter, yes, I'm doing better. It cut deep to know you're right to the bone. Yes, I got your letter, yes, I'm doing better. I know that it's over, I don't need your closure. Your closure. Don't treat me like some situation that needs to be handled. I'm fine with my spite and my tears and my beers and my candles. I can feel you smoothing me over. Yes, I got your letter, yes, I'm doing better. It cut deep to know you're right to the bone. Yes, I got your letter, yes, I'm doing better. I know that it's over, I don't need your closure. Your closure. Your closure. I know I'm just a wrinkle in your new life. Staying friends would iron it out so nice. Guilty, guilty, reaching out across the sea that you put between you and me. But it's fake and it's oh so unnatural. necessary.
Oh shit.
Yes, I got your letter. Yes, I'm doing better. It cut deep to know you're right to the bone. Yes, I got your letter. Yes, I'm doing better. I know that it's over. I don't need your closure, your closure, your closure.
Okay, so this one's a little unexpected, but I think the basics of it is it's talking about the complexities of seeking and granting closure. And Taylor seems to be a bit ambivalent about this communication because it seems more self-serving than sincere. The opening lines definitely set the tone for the song, saying, "It's been a long time seeing the shape of your name, still spells out pain." I mean, this tells us, obviously, there's been some time between the communications, but this also tells us that there's some residual pain. But my favorite line is, "Don't treat me like some sort of situation that needs to be handled." I like it because it emphasizes her desire to be respected as an individual who doesn't require fixing or closure from another person. "I know I'm just a wrinkle in your old life." She realizes that she is just a minor concern to them, and I think she prefers to keep it that way. But let's check out what Hannah's gonna say.
So, you either liked this song or the drum machine was too disturbing. For me, the kind of wired rhythm fits. And I think it should probably show the disturbing atmosphere the person Taylor is singing about brought into her life. I feel like this is one of the more personal songs, even though I don't know who it would be about. It's about someone who sent her a letter that might have been a text in real life to find closure on something. The whole point is just that she was already done with this person and found her own closure before. She also seems to think that this person doesn't really mean it, and that their apology or closure was fake. I've never been in a situation like that, so it's not really relatable for me, but I still somehow like the vibe of the song.
What I like about this song is that we don't exactly know who this song is about. Nobody is directly mentioned. We can speculate all we want, but the only person that probably knows who this is framed towards is the person that sent her that message. Can you imagine being that person? You know, I mean, Evermore came out like what, a couple months after Folklore and such. So I'm assuming what happened is sometime during the pandemic, someone was flipping through their phone, saw her name, decided to send out this, message and save her in some kind of way. And this obviously struck a chord with Taylor, and she decided to release this song probably a couple months to a year later. So I can just only imagine the person that tried to reach out and send this now hearing this song and just being like, what the fuck? It's a power move and I absolutely love it. So lyrically, yes, pretty black and white. I think we all get it, but there are some vocal techniques that definitely help highlight some of her messages. For instance, the clipped staccato vocal style. I mean, the delivery mirrors the natural abruptness and tension of the situation. It emphasizes the sharpness of the unsolicited apology. So vocal intensity, or lack thereof there, I think plays a key role in the foundation of this song as well. And every song we've heard up until this point, she's used these dynamic ranges and these interesting inflections that have really highlighted her point. This one, it's kind of the same tone the entire way through, kind of highlighting her, I really don't give a shit, man. What is this? I don't need saving. But she does, however, very strategically place emphasis on certain words to kind of highlight some of the sarcasm. But at the end of the day, tonally, I think she did a great job highlighting both sensitivity and strength. Okay, so let's move on to some of the production, because this one is so different from everything on the album. I mean, predominantly, it's what's known as industrial percussion. It has those signature clanging metallic sounds. It's designed to create a very mechanical sound. So traditionally with popular industrial style beats, it has to follow a certain formula. The beat mapping at least has to be somewhat easy to follow. But this is not a traditional rhythmic pattern. It's designed in a way to make you feel uneasy. Everything up till now has been very warm and inviting and cozy, and this just strips you from the immersion of all of that. Almost like unexpectedly receiving communications from somebody that once hurt you. I see what you're doing, Taylor. Now the muted piano is there to provide you some comfortabilities. We can't take you out of the immersion completely. There needs to be some basic foundation that keeps you grounded to the message and what's going on. It can't all be chaos. You just need a little bit of chaos. It's a much needed contrast to those abrasive beats. There's also plenty of ambient textures, but instead of being warm or highlighting orchestral elements, it's there to be cold and detached, probably much like she feels reading this letter.
November, I've been down since July. Motion capture put me in a bad light. I replay my footsteps on each stepping stone, trying to find the one where I went wrong. Writing letters addressed to the fire. And I was catching my breath, staring out an open window, catching my death. And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar that this pain would be forevermore. Hey December, guess I'm feeling unmoored. Can't remember what I used to fight for. I rewind the tape, but all it does is pause on the very moment all was lost, sending signals to be double-crossed. And I was catching my breath, barefoot in the wildest winter, catching my death. And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar that this pain would be forevermore.
Think of all the calls,
Oh, Bond's in this?
all the things that will be lost. Or can we just get a pause to be certain we'll be tall again? Where the weather be the frost, or the violence of the dog days. I'm on waves of being tossed. Is there a line that I could just go across?
And when I was shipwrecked, I thought of you.
All the things that will be lost now.
In the cracks of light,
Just get a pause
I dreamed of you.
to be certain we'll be tall again.
And it was real enough to get me through.
All the relics of the dark days, out on waves, being tossed.
I swear.
Is there a line that we can just go across?
And I was catching my breath, floors of a cabin creaking under my step. And I couldn't be sure. I had a feeling so peculiar, this pain wouldn't be forevermore. Evermore. Evermore. This pain wouldn't be forevermore. Evermore.
Okay, so this would be the last track on the album. There are bonus tracks, and I will get to them, but it's important to know that this is how the album originally was meant to end. What I take from this is a lot of elements of despair. Yes, there's some healing along the way, but overall, this seems to be about a journey from darkness. But there is a turning point, and there is a realization that healing is possible. So we have another duet with Bon Iver, and this is interesting because I just automatically picture him, you know, doing Exile with Taylor, and it's honestly one of my favorite songs off of Folklore. But obviously, obviously his vocal tone and technique is very different on this one. But when he enters the track, he offers a different perspective on the narrative. I mean, he reinforces themes of isolation. And together they illustrate that suffering is a shared human experience. There's comfort knowing that you're not alone in a struggle. But I'll get more to the vocals in a second. Let's see what Hannah's going to say about this one.
So, you might have been thinking that nothing would be able to compete to Exile if it comes to a Bon Iver feature.
I still prefer Exile.
But I think this song definitely can keep up with it. It's again written with William Bowery. And at this point, I'd really like to hear him sing one of the songs he wrote with Taylor, even though they are not together anymore. The song is about feeling so low that you can't see yourself coming out of that pain anymore. This goes on for months. Gray November. Hey, December. But finally, you find something real enough to get me through.
I'm not editing that out.
This something seems to be the person this song is addressing. You were there. Ending on the line, this pain wouldn't be forevermore. The song doesn't leave you on a pessimistic and sad feeling, which is a great way to originally end the album.
It's not that I don't like this song or that Evermore does a bad job of putting closure on this album. I think it's doing everything right. It's just Exile for me hits on a deeper level, and those contrast in vocals with his rich baritone and Taylor's natural tone, I feel like just adds a little bit more. This is interesting. You know, it's melodically faster in certain elements. It just doesn't hit the same way Exile does for me, but I appreciate both. I mean, Taylor's voice in this track carries a certain sense of fragility, and that aligns with the song's somber themes. Throughout the song, she very characteristically gradually builds the vocal intensity, and she does a great job reflecting on those emotional crescendos as she moves from despair towards hope. Now, I don't know much about Bon Iver or Justin Vernon or whatever his name is. I don't know any of his music outside of Taylor Swift and outside of Exile and, you know, some backing vocal tracks here and there. And this was interesting. It was interesting to hear him in the role of what would traditionally be the falsetto, although not a true falsetto. It's just, it was a little jarring. I guess I was expecting something a bit different. But I'd say overall, I enjoyed the pitch and flow of both vocalists. And I like that the instrumentation isn't merely background elements. They're actively participating in the storytelling. Each instrument, from the solitary piano to the swelling strings to the subtle percussion, serves to enhance the emotional journey of the song. And there are some synthetics added to this song used for transitions, and they add some great fluidity to the track. I mean, at its core, it's a sophisticated composition with heartfelt storytelling. It's a moving piece.
Friends break up, friends get married, strangers get born, strangers get buried, trends change, rumors fly through new skies, but I'm right where you left me. Matches burn after the other, pages turn and stick to each other, wages earned and lessons learned, but I'm right where you left me. Help, I'm still at the restaurant, still sitting in a corner I haunt, cross-legged in the dim light, they say what a sad sight. I swear you could hear a hairpin drop right when I felt the moment stop. Glass shattered on the white cloth, everybody moved on. I stayed there, dust collected on my pinned up hair. They expected me to find somewhere some perspective, but I sat and stared right where you left me. You left me, no. You left me, no.
She's paralyzed.
You left me no choice but to stay here forever. You left me. You left me, no. Oh, you left me, no. You left me no choice but to stay here forever. Did you ever hear about the girl who got frozen? Time went on for everybody else, she won't know it. She's still 23, inside her fantasy. about the girl who lives in delusion. Breakups happen every day, you don't have to lose it. She's still 23, inside her fantasy. And you're sitting in front of me at the restaurant when I was still the one you want. Cross-legged in the dim light, everything was just right. I could feel the mascara run. You told me that you met someone. Glass shattered on the white cloth, everybody moved on. Help, I'm still at the restaurant, still sitting in a corner I haunt. Cross-legged in a dim light, they say what a sad sight. I stayed there, dust collected on my pinned up hair. I'm sure that you got a wife out there, kids and Christmas, but I'm unaware, 'cause I'm right where I cause no harm. Mind my business, if I love died young, I can't bear witness, and it's been so long. But if you ever think you got it wrong, I'm right where you left me. You left me, no. You left me, no. You left me no choice but to stay here forever. You left me. You left me, no. You left me, no. You left me no choice but to stay here forever.
You know what it is, man? It's just good writing. You know, I can see that glass breaking. I can see the white tablecloth. I can see and feel this restaurant. It's world building at its finest. All right, so this track explores themes of heartbreak, stagnation, and the overall inability to move on. I mean, she's stuck. She's emotionally paralyzed. She's unable to progress with the rest of her life, and the rest of the world is moving on. I mean, it's relatable. I think we're all guilty of being stuck in these like negative feedback loops and just being still in this moment of time that just plays over and over in our mind. Let's see what Hannah's got to say about this one.
This first bonus song tells another sad story about a breakup. A 23-year-old girl went out with someone who then left her for someone else. She can't seem to go on from that, and people are calling her delusional. For me, the saddest part is when she says, "But if you ever think you got it wrong, I'm right where you left me." She would forgive him because she still feels love for him, even though it seems to be a long time ago, as she starts off with things that happened in the meantime. Friends break up, friends get married. For me, this song and the next one are good examples for Taylor putting some of the best songs as bonus tracks. There are a few more examples, and some of the newer vault tracks could have easily made it to the original album.
I mean, Hannah is probably right, but I'd like to believe that the protagonist would kind of learn from this experience and not re-involve herself in a relationship if he ever did come back. Because outside of the lyrics, I believe there's some telltale signs. For instance, her tone carries a certain sense of resignation. Taylor's inflections convey disbelief and pain. You have to remember that the protagonist has been living in this place for a very long time. Some of the main themes of this album have been introspection and evolution, and I think this is furthering that concept. And also, at least to me, it does feel like towards the chorus, her tone does change. It becomes a little bit more empathetic. And I think that's Taylor outlining this character showing empathy towards herself, towards her situation, and possibly putting herself on a projection to get over all of this. But through careful phrasing and breath control, she allows the melody to contain flow. It takes a different kind of skill. It takes a certain kind of rhythm, especially with such a complex composition. Now, sonically, this seems to be one of the more layered tracks. I heard a lot here, and it could have just been effect, but acoustic guitar is obviously the backbone, but also I heard banjo, what sounded like mandolin, a touch of fiddle in there as well. It's giving this interesting charm to it, but it's also very texturally heavy. But yeah, the acoustic guitar provides provides a primary and rhythmic foundation. I mean, the sharp and brisk guitar strumming provides a sense of propulsion. It moves things forward, while the other instruments kind of highlight the stagnation that the character is feeling. Man, I hope I'm right about the mandolin, because if I'm not, I'm gonna look like a fucking idiot. But I like the fact that there's this other stringed instrument that's adding a certain chime, a certain brightness to the track. It complements the acoustic guitar very well, and it adds a certain folk aesthetic. And the mandolin often mirrors and accentuates the vocal melody, and it's reinforcing those key emotional phrases. And the banjo is cool too. It's a difficult instrument to work with, especially with a track that's so layered as this one, but it adds a very distinct timbre to the track. It does a good job providing some rhythmic complexities, and it also adds to the general texture. So both sonically and vocally, right where you left me is kind of a mixed bag. It's a lot of things. On one hand, it's sad. On the other hand, it's charming. It's rhythmically modern, but it's also quietly rustic. But at its core, it's just great storytelling and a cool little bonus track.
When the dinner is cold and the chatter gets old, you ask for the tab. Oh, that moment again, he's insisting that friends look at each other like that. When the words of a sister come back in whispers that prove she was not, in fact, what she seemed, not a twin from your dreams. She's a crook who was caught. That old familiar body ache, the snaps from the same little breaks in your soul. You know when it's time to go. At your job, then the son or the boss gets the spot that was yours. We're trying to save for the kids when keeping it how it is will only break their hearts worse. That old familiar body ache, the snaps from the same little breaks in your soul. You know when it's time to go. Sometimes giving up is the strong thing. Sometimes to run is the brave thing. Sometimes walking out is the one thing that will find you the right thing. Sometimes giving up is the strong thing. Sometimes to run is the brave thing. Sometimes walking out is the one thing that will find you the right thing. 15 years, 15 million tears, begging till my knees bled. I gave it my all, he gave me nothing at all, then wondered why I left. Now he sits on his throne in his palace of bones, praying to his greed. He's got my past frozen behind glass, but I've got me. That old familiar body ache, the snaps from the same little breaks in my soul. I know when it's time to go. Sometimes giving up is the strong thing. Sometimes to run is the brave thing.
She's not wrong.
Sometimes walking out is the one thing that will find you the right thing. Sometimes giving up is the strong thing. Sometimes to run is the brave thing. Sometimes walking out is the one thing that will find you the right thing. That will find you the right thing. And you know in your soul.
The structure's strange, but I dig it.
You know in your soul when it's time to go. And we know, you know, you know, you know when it's time to go. So then you go. Then you go. You just go.
You know what it is? It's that difficult but very necessary journey of learning to let things go. This was cool because there wasn't any main stage. There wasn't any main scene. It was multiple different perspectives and different references and different scenarios that you'd be in at different points in your life, and being at that point of knowing when to let go. Taylor even included herself in the mix. I mean, you're immediately met with the image of disappointment and betrayal when the words of a sister come back in a whisper that proves she was not in fact what she seemed. The poetic approach to most of these songs is something I feel like I could talk about for days. You know, oftentimes people say, oh, that's so poetic, but it gets lost in the meanings. There's too many adjectives. There's too many things happening where it really doesn't ground you to any story or any scenario. That's not the case with Taylor's lyrics. I mean, it's melodic and rhythmically playful, but more importantly, it drives home the message. Like, you understand exactly what she's talking about. She talks about the comforts and the convenience of long-standing relationships and staying together for the kids, or just because it's what's known to you. I mean, this is a trap that a lot of us fall into. Between religion and the modern industrial complex, we are bred to grind. We are bred to take it. It's almost romanticized. We don't want to be quitters. We don't want to be weak. We want to be positive contributors to society. So most times that inner voice just gets pushed down. It gets shoved down with all the other shit, and we just take it. But Taylor's encouraging you to listen to that inner voice. This song is about acknowledging when a situation is way beyond repair. Ultimately, it's about empowerment through departure. But I bet Hannah's gonna have some good notes in this one. Let's check it out.
This is, again, one of the more personal songs on this album, or at least I think it is. It talks about different situations as examples of when you know that you have to leave. Especially the third verse. 15 years, 15 million tears. Seems to be personal to Taylor. You can read the story of her losing her masters in this verse. The line, "He's got my past frozen behind glass," for example, is a hint at the people who have awards for her work hanging on their walls. For me, the most important message of the song is sometimes giving up is the strong thing, meaning that it's okay. And it can even be the better choice to sometimes lose a fight and move on from it. Right. Also, again, it's a clever way to end an album with a song called "It's Time to Go." I had a lot of fun writing this document and the one for Folklore, and I can definitely see myself writing another one for another album. If I'd have one wish as a reward, I'd like you to react to Taylor's speech at NYU when she received her honorary doctorate.
100% Hannah.
She delivered the perfect speech, not only for that specific occasion she was in, but in general. It gave me a lot to think about, because I am just a little younger than the people she directed the speech at. However, I also believe that most of us can find something in that speech that gives them a great perspective on different aspects of life.
I will 100% be doing a video on her NYU speech. Hannah, you've created a lot of great insight on this document, and you've helped me along the way, so thank you for doing this. And I do realize you have other documents for other albums moving forward. As you know from being a community member for a while now is the point where I'm going to move on to the bonus content, some live stuff, some interviews and stuff from both the Folklore and Evermore era. But yeah, Hannah, great job in the document. And once again, thank you for taking my humor in stride and letting me have a little bit of fun with this. All right, so that's Evermore. I gotta say, I'm pleasantly surprised. If you've been watching my videos for a while, chances are you've heard me sing the praises of Folklore and how that album resonates with me, and it's some of my favorite works from Taylor Swift to date. So of course, for a while now, I've been getting a lot of comments about this sister album, Evermore, and how it came out just a few months after Folklore was released. But as exciting as the prospect was of continuing off of the foundations of one of my favorite Taylor Swift albums was, these red flags kind of started to come up. I started thinking, well, does that mean this is going to be an album consisting mostly of B-sides? Does that mean that she's going to just continue off of the same stories in a way that feels like it's just not adding anything of depth? I'm pleased to say that that is not the case. Much like every new Taylor Swift album, it is an evolution from the album before it. These songs are not the bonus or extra songs that just didn't make it to Folklore. I mean, Evermore is a captivating journey through intricate emotions and storytelling. Her lyrics are richly textured. It is the exploration of love, heartache, and reflection. Each song presents unique and imaginative metaphors and sharp observations that highlight her matured songwriting. And the production is another fantastic evolution from Folklore. It's subtle, but boy is it impactful. It's a blend of folk-inspired melodies with plenty of indie and alternative nuances. And this fusion results in a sound that is both familiar and refreshingly innovative. And yes, in some ways it continues building off the foundations of Folklore, but Evermore dives deeper into complex themes and experimental melodies. And to some degree, Folklore is a little bit more introspective. It's definitely a little bit more stripped back, but Evermore evolves with bolder musical arrangements. Evermore truly is a testament to Taylor's evolving artistry. It is a thoughtfully crafted collection that balances introspective lyricism with innovative production, offering a profound and resonating musical experience from start to finish. Yes, you can say it's a sister album, but in my eyes, it's a clear evolution. So guys, I guess that's going to do it for my album reaction. And I just wanted to say, you know, I put a lot of time, effort, love, blood, sweat, and tears into this album reaction. And I'm going to do the same thing going forward with every album. I try and get better with every video that I make it either more engaging, funny, you know, educational, whatever the case, whatever I can bring to the table is. And I do realize that some people would prefer just more content all the time. But I'm of the frame of mind, I'd rather focus on quality over quantity. So I'm sorry that if these things take a little bit extra time, or it's only a handful of songs at a time, but this allows me to truly focus on what I'm talking about, truly grasp the messages and the ideas, and share my thoughts in the most cohesive way possible. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back real soon with the next one. Bye, everybody.